She was only 8, barefoot, in a dress torn to shreds, gripping a stranger's arm so hard her knuckles went white. "He buried my baby sister," she gasped, voice raw with panic. That was how it started. And for Nolan Reeves, who hadn't carried anyone since the night he lost his own family, that was all it took. You don't plan for a day like that. 1 minute, you're sipping bitter coffee, trying to convince yourself the sunrise isn't wasted on a man like you. And the next, you're chasing after a little girl and an old rescue dog named Ash, heart pounding, not daring to pray, but running anyway. The dirt was still loose. Underneath, something moved. What they found that morning wasn't just a child fighting for air. It was, in a strange way, the start of something neither of us expected, the beginning of a kind of redemption that doesn't make sense until you live it. You know what I mean? Dawn in Willow Bend, Arizona, always hits different. A chill in the bones, a silence so sharp it slices through memory. Nolan stood on his porch, broad-shouldered, hollow-eyed, watching the light crawl across red earth. 6 years before, a flood took his wife and little girl. Since then, he'd spoken more to Ash than to people, chosen solitude over sympathy, the kind of loneliness you don't even realize you're feeding every day. But the girl, Lark, emerged from the trees like a ghost. Blood on her knee, bruises blooming across her face, her eyes as gray as smoke after a storm. She didn't cry, just looked up the steps. Ash, who'd saved lives and lost plenty himself, moved first. Lark collapsed into his fur, whispering, "I'm not here to steal. Please don't shoot me." Nolan just said, "I don't carry a gun." But it was more than that. She said, "Mama told me to find the man with the dog, the quiet man. She said you wouldn't send me away." And that was enough. She didn't flinch when Nolan crouched down. When he asked her name, "Lark," she said. The name hit him like a fist, his own daughter's name, once. She told him about her mother, hidden in the woods behind the crooked roof shed, having a baby nobody wanted. And she told him about the man who said, "If it cries, I'll dig a hole." Nolan didn't hesitate. He grabbed his pack. Ash grabbed a piece of cornbread, and together they followed Lark into the woods. No questions, just action. The forest closed around them, thick with shadows and the hush of old trees. Lark's head fell against Nolan's shoulder, her fever radiating, body light as nothing. Ash darted ahead, nose to the ground, guiding them deeper. The grave was easy to find, fresh earth, a crude mound under a cedar tree. Nolan's breath caught. Ash dug frantic, dirt flying, until a bundle shifted loose. Inside was a newborn, still wrapped in a man's shirt, lips blue, barely breathing. "You hold on now," Nolan muttered, pressing the baby to his chest, stripping off his own flannel to keep her warm. Lark, trembling but steady, held her baby sister while Nolan checked on her mother, Callie, barely alive, unconscious by the rotten log. Ash growled a warning. Nolan glimpsed a shadow ducking away, gone in a heartbeat. But there wasn't time to chase it. The rescue mattered more. They moved slow back through the trees, Nolan carrying Callie and the newborn, Lark stumbling beside them, Ash guarding their rear. Somewhere on that walk, Nolan confessed, "I had a daughter once. Lost her in a storm. I didn't run fast enough." Lark didn't need to say anything. Her small hand reached out to the baby. "She's strong," she said. "They don't get to take her." Back at the cabin, they found no safety. Wayne, Lark's father, lingered in the shadows, watching, waiting. Ash stood guard at the door while Nolan wrapped Callie and the baby in blankets. Lark watching over her sister like she could keep her alive just by wishing it so. When asked about a name, Lark whispered, "Mercy." And somehow, it fit. They got Callie and Mercy to Willow Bend Small Hospital. Really just a hunting lodge with some medical supplies. Nurse Marta took one look and called Dr. Rowan Tate, a vet, not a doctor, but the only one in town with hands steady enough for blood and chaos. Rowan worked in silence, running on muscle memory and something that looked a lot like grief. She was buried, Nolan said, barely able to hand over the baby. Rowan nodded, eyes on Mercy. "Then she's a fighter. But the law's not always on your side out here." Deputy Fox showed up, not hostile but not hopeful either. "Girl says her father tried to bury the newborn. Sheriff wants more evidence." Nolan bristled. The baby had dirt in her lungs. What the hell more do you need? But Fox just shrugged. Too tired, too used to stories like this. Do what you need, he said, like that counted for something. Inside, Rowan confessed to Marta that she'd seen Callie before, bruised and broken, and hadn't done enough. She was quiet like a ghost, like someone who's been told too many times she wasn't worth keeping. That night, as everyone tried to sleep, Rowan sat with Nolan. I heard you lost someone, she said. Me too. Flood took my fiancée. Nolan just nodded. Sometimes the worst pain is the one you can't say out loud. When Callie finally woke, she was certain she'd failed her daughters. But Lark, small, brave, bandaged, just said, You told me to run, Mama. I did, and I found help. You did protect us. You just weren't alone. And that was true, but Wayne wasn't finished. He showed up at the clinic, drunk or worse, rage blazing. Nolan met him on the porch, rifle low, ready but not wanting blood. They're not yours anymore, Nolan said. Wayne snarled, called Callie out, drew a knife. Ash launched, jaws clamped on Wayne's arm. Nolan pinned him down until the sheriff arrived. Rowan handed over Mercy's burned sock. Evidence, proof. Sheriff cuffed Wayne for attempted murder, child endangerment, neglect. Wayne screamed like a trapped animal. Lark rewarded Ash with a blue hair tie, whispering, That's for bravery. The story didn't end there. It never does. The next morning, Callie sat on the porch, Mercy asleep in her arms, Lark twirling in a dress too big, Ash guarding them all. Nolan carved a frame for the door, handing Lark the knife to etch the baby's name, Mercy. Below it, she wrote Lark. Callie said softly, She is the end of fear and the beginning of hope. Dr. Rowan dropped by with a pie, and for the first time, laughter circled through coffee steam on the porch. No talk of that night, no mention of Wayne, just peace, fragile but real. As the sun rose, Nolan and Lark fixed fences together, wildflowers in hand, Lark asking, Do you think the land remembers who used to live here? Nolan said, I think it does, but it learns to forgive, same as us. Sometimes miracles show up not in thunder, but in the hush of a newborn's breath, in a child's insistence on hope, in the way silence finally learns how to speak again. This story started in the dirt, meant to bury something. It ends on a porch, with names carved into wood, forgiveness growing out of broken earth, and love standing guard in the shape of an old dog and a girl who stopped running. Maybe that's how God moves, in strangers who answer a cry, in children who believe, in mothers who get one more chance. Maybe your story isn't over. Maybe the worst thing that happened to you doesn't get the last word. If this story hit you, share your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, about right and wrong, about hope. Because some stories, the ones where love wins quietly, deserve to be told again and again.